Hey, Calvary family, Pastor Brennan here. So here's the update. We are going to begin resuming in-person gatherings here at the church this week for Wednesday and Sunday. In your e-bulletin, you have some specifics of what will be required and the various precautions that we are putting into place to find that balance between being cautious and as responsible as we can be, while also ensuring that the church gathers together. Okay, and so please make sure you look through that list. If you have questions about anything, much of it is very similar to what we had before with some additions. The biggest change is probably that we are requiring masks at all of our services, which I realize will be popular with some and maybe less so with others, but bear with us as we try and strike a good balance here. We've looked at CDC guidelines, DHEC guidelines, as well as partnered with area churches to kind of identify what's the best approach. And this is really what we've come up with. Again, I understand that for some of you, man, you're excited. You're saying, hey, we've been through this before. Let's get back. Let's be together. And for others, you're probably a little bit more reserved or feeling cautious about this. Maybe even feeling like this isn't the right thing for us to do. What I would say is, to those of you who want to hold back a little bit, you feel the need, you feel led to be a bit more cautious, certainly if you've got some health circumstances or relatives that's kind of dictating you remaining at home a bit more, taking advantage of live stream, listen, that's okay. But there is a difference between being cautious and being fearful. And we know that fear does not bring glory to the Lord. And if that's you, I would encourage you to take that to the Lord. I would trust each of you to really evaluate, am I being appropriately cautious or am I being fearful? And if you're being fearful, again, surrender that to the Lord. Here's the thing, guys. As we gather together again, we're still going to be in a situation where we don't have Calvary Kids quite yet, though we are talking through some plans for that you'll be hearing about really probably over the next week or so on ways for us to bring aspects of that back. Some of you have asked for that. You see in those guidelines, there's some specific things we're doing for staff and volunteers on a regular basis. There's some specific things for just our gatherings on Sundays and Wednesdays. So again, look through all that information. Let us know if you have any questions. Ultimately though, just for you to hear my heart as a pastor, guys, I don't want to get to the other side of this should the Lord tarry in his return. A few months go by, a year goes by, whatever. And we look back and we say, man, we squandered the time. We didn't do what we were supposed to do with it. And there's a fear on my part as a pastor that if we just sort of go status quo, if we do as little as possible and just sort of get by in the name of just trying to be safe, that we're going to miss out on something. And it's not about this fear of missing out. I want to be involved in activity, but it's about going after the Lord. There's a quote I love. It's from an author by the name of Hunter Thompson. And he says, life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and proclaiming, wow, what a ride. Guys, I want that to be my life. I want it to be each of our lives, that we can look back and before we draw that last breath, that we can say, Lord, I used every breath that I had, the breath that you put in me for your glory. Now, what that looks like for each of us is going to be different. I'm called to things that are different than what you're called to. We are created for good works that we may walk in them. I firmly believe that there's good works created for each of us. But to be about pursuing those good works, understanding, Lord, what do you want from me? What do you want me to do? How do you want me to live my life? That's what I want us to be about, going after those things. And much of that, like it or not, happens amongst the gathering of the believers as we push each other and challenge each other. And I want us to do more of that. I am asking that you would be in prayer for me, be in prayer for the leadership of this church, that we would hear rightly from the Lord as to what he wants from this church, how he wants us to do things differently than maybe we've done it before. I think that's a big part of what God is doing right now in this country. I think he's working in his church. Quite frankly, I think he's separating people out. I think he's dealing with people's hearts and whether or not they're truly sold out for him. And I think he's showing pastors that there's things he wants differently in his church, even including the way in which we teach and in the way in which we worship. I think all of it's on the table. But ultimately that we would come to a place that we could say, Lord, I hear you and I'm going after it, Lord. I'm doing what it is that you've called me to do. Okay? So I know that there's a lot of opinions right now on how things should be done, how they shouldn't be done. The bottom line is I feel absolutely convicted that we need to start to move forward, to get back in the swing of things. And it's not going to be perfect. I understand that. But that we would be praying for one another and that we would all be in pursuit of the Lord together. That's my heart for this church. That's my heart for each of us. And so, guys, I just wanted to share that with you this morning. Again, you got the details there on what we're doing. And again, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. I love you all dearly. I appreciate you. God bless you all, and I hope to see many of you soon.